Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode of the Caregiver Cup podcast. Thank you for joining me on this YouTube screen where today I'm going to be talking all about this whole caregiver stress and trying to triage your caregiver stress. Because when you are a caregiver, stress is inevitable. Stress is going to happen. You're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days. But when you can go ahead and find a process where you can triage your stress, and I found that this color coding system really helps me triage it. Yes, colors like red and blue and yellow and green. When you go ahead and identify the color of your stress, and then you have ways and habits and techniques that you've tried that work for you, you can say, okay, I'm in this blue state today. Here's the tools that I can use. And I've been trying this for about 6 months, and I've been building my toolkit and been using these color codes. And I want to share these with you today in hopes that you can go ahead and use those as well. And so what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to go ahead and walk through the color coding system. I'm going to talk about the importance of it and walk through it. And then I'm going to go ahead and talk about a situation or an opportunity to go ahead and build your toolkit and how you do that. And so without further ado, I'm going to just jump right in. I'm going to first say that our nervous system is this an amazing piece of who we are. It signals and sends us things in our head and in the rest of our body that we are stressed. And it tells us, if we really listen to it, it tells us how we're stressed. Think about a mom taking care of a newborn baby. That newborn baby cries or is fussy, and it alerts the mom that something is wrong. And then as a mom or a dad or whoever's watching the child, they have to go ahead and figure out what that stress is of that baby. And then they go ahead and figure that out. Well, the same would apply for us, and we're going to walk through those. You think about, first of all, think about an ER situation. You go into the ER. My husband, about a year, 2 years ago, maybe it was during the pandemic. So I don't know if it was 20 or 21, but he cut the tip of his finger, and he cut it really, really bad working on birdhouses on the saw. And so when he went into the ER, there was a triage nurse that went ahead and assessed him, went ahead and took his vitals, his blood pressure, all that kind of stuff, looked at the cut on his finger, and then she went through a triage process. And I have my notes here, like in a normal triage, this is just an example of one. Red would mean that the person needs immediate attention and the physician there needs to go ahead and do that. I think of like a heart attack or something, or like a car accident. And orange means it's emergent and they need evaluation within 15 minutes. Yellow means potentially unstable, and there needs to be an evaluation like in 16 minutes. And then green means it's not emergent, and the reevaluation needs to be every 180 minutes. And blue means it's a minor injury, like somebody comes in for like a sore throat or a flu-like symptoms, and they have to go ahead and do that. Now, the military goes through another color coding system, which was really interesting. Theirs is more simplistic. Red means immediate, severe, life threatening, whatever. Yellow means delayed, it's serious injury, but it's not life threatening. And then green means they're walking wounded and they can go ahead and be the last on the list. And so they go ahead and just have three. Well, today I want to go through 4 color coding systems that I've been using now for the last 6 months or so that have helped me identify the color code I'm at. And I'll give you a little sneak peek. What I do is I go ahead and assess my color code every day. I put a little dot in my journal. and I assess it. I don't assess it right away. I wait until I'm fully awake. My ritual in the morning is I go for a walk with my dogs and then do some things around my garden and whatever. But when I sit down with my coffee and my journal, I'm awake enough where I can naturally assess it. I'm awake enough. And then I tell myself, am I in a green mode, a blue mode, a yellow mode, or a red mode? And so let's break these down and talk about the four color coding stress processes that I've used to identify my patterns, my feelings, my thoughts, and my overall stress for the day. And now the little disclaimer is you don't have to do it in the morning. You can do it throughout the day. There's some days that I'll do it in the morning and then I'll be in a stressful situation in the afternoon. And I'm like, okay, time to just take a step back, Kathy, and look at your stress. And so I do that. So, green, I'm going to start out with the easy one first. You're having a good day. Things are easy. You got a good night's sleep. You have an extra kick in your step, and you may have a good day with caregiving. Your loved one may be good. You might not have appointments that day. More or less, it's really little to no stress day. And you need to appreciate those days because you don't get very many green days. And I know green thinks, I think right away, green thinking of like Mr. Yuck green, but green means go, green means good, that situation. Now, blue means that you're in a low day. You're in this depressed state, you're depleted state, you're disconnected, you're feeling stuck, you're feeling blah. You're not really high on stress, but you're just that. Some people may feel blue if they're like overly lonely, because we know caregiving can be lonely. You could feel like you're in autopilot and the same things happen day in and day out. Um, just a little sneak peek at what we're going to talk about from a toolkit perspective. These are the days where you want to get up and move, or you want to do a hobby or something to uplift you to make you feel a little bit better. Because what happens with your body is when you're in this low state or this depressed state or this depleted state, your body is responding to stress by telling you to be calm, just hang low, be quiet, that sort of thing. Really, when you've been with your loved one, for me, when Dennis was in his stem cell transplant, my husband had a stem cell transplant in 2022, and he had a stem cell transplant, and I had to spend 6 weeks in the same housing facility, the same cancer clinics, the same hospital setting, and we had to remain there isolated. Well, it wasn't high, crazy stress, but it was this compounding effect where you felt like you were closing and closing and closing, and there was nothing new to look forward to, and it was depleting. And so that's that kind of stress. And so your body's responding to that because your body's feeling like there's nothing but just inner stress and inner boredom almost in a way. Okay, the yellow zone, and that I'm going to talk about the yellow and red zone next. And these are your fight and flight zones. This one, the yellow zone, is I think of it almost like a buzzing feeling, like a bumblebee buzzing. And I relate it to the yellow as from a bumblebee. This is where you're going to have anxiety, maybe panic, fear, frustration. You're on edge, you're anxious. You might even have excessive worry, excessive guilt. Things are just disrupting and it's not feeling good. And it's almost like I relate it to two things where I watch our little 2-year-old grandson, Curtis, and you can't really relax when he's around because that 2-year-old stage, if I bring him out in the front yard, I have to constantly be watching him so he doesn't run out into the road or he doesn't fall, or he doesn't put something in his mouth, that kind of thing. Or another related example is, let's say you are out camping and you see a wild animal, like a wild bear maybe, and it's far enough away. It's not even close, but you can see it, and you can see the bear. You're not like in a like wanting to run, and you're not in complete danger, but you have this panic and anxiety that it's always there and you're always on guard. And that's where that yellow feeling feels. Now, the red, as you can tell, I put the red in the heated, the hot. This is the fight or flight mode where everything feels urgent. You're in overdrive. Now, think about that bear. That bear isn't in a distance. That bear is right there, and you can see the bear running towards you. You're in this this mode where you have to either decide, are you going to fight or are you going to fly? You have to figure out what you're going to do. It is urgent. When I think of somebody in a red zone, you're angry, but you're overly, you just blew up on somebody. You just snapped. You are out of control, whether that out of control is anger or crying, or you're just done. You might hear people by saying, well, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. You're screaming, you're yelling, you're emotional, whatever it would be. You're in this red zone. Now, the example that I think about is um, people in this red zone can't just take a deep breath and make it go away. When you're in this red zone, you're in this highest level of stress, and you might be breaking down in the shower and crying, and you're sobbing to the point where you're going and you can't figure it out. You might have a screaming affair with your loved one or a family member. You might be beeping the horn in traffic because somebody didn't go fast enough in when the light changed to green. Whatever it would be, you're not your normal person, and you're actually in overdrive. And a simple take a couple deep breaths will not work in this situation. And so once you recognize that, and all of these zones, you're going to be able to, the whole piece about my piece is here, what I'm trying to say here is, I want you first to pay attention to the zones, because once you're aware of which zone you're in the second half of this video now, I'm going to talk about building a toolkit of how you can go ahead, and even if you're in a green zone, how can you be prepared for a red zone? Or how can you avoid the red zone? What can you do to build your inner endurance to stress in the green zone? Or when you're in a blue zone, what's the best tools or the best things that you can do? And so I'm giving you just a little sneak peek of this in this episode today, because in my new and upcoming course called The Empowerful Caregiver, this is just one piece of how to deal with caregiver stress, how to avoid caregiver burnout, and how to go ahead and recognize your nervous system and regulate your nervous system. And so I am doing this course. If you're listening or if you're watching this now, it's going to be September of 2023 that I'm going to be releasing this course. The enrollment's going to be in August of 2023, but you can get on the wait list, because I'm going to limit this to just 10 people, and we're going to go through this course. And so I want you to go ahead and get on the wait list so that you can be one that I can contact when the registration is open. So, okay, so let's now move on to the process that I use I call it really a strategy that I use each and every day now. And I use it in caregiving, I use it in work situation, I use it in my personal life, whatever it would be. You're going to go ahead and assess yourself each day with a color coding system. And I think the best way to do this is to find a time specifically. I recommend mornings after you're awake, after you have maybe you habit stack this with like journaling, and you go ahead and journal and put a dot in your journal with the color code, or write the color in and say today feels like I'm blue, and acknowledge why you feel blue. Are you feeling depleted or whatever? So I'm going to walk through this, and then you're going to come up with tools and techniques and habits that are going to work for you. And you're going to try things so that you can, maybe a month down the road now, you can say, I built this toolkit and I know exactly what I have to do when I'm in red zone. These are the questions I have to ask myself. This is what I have to do. This is how I'm going to calm myself down, and so on. And so let's start with green. Again, green is green is for the go state. My little disclaimer too is every single one of us is different. I might use something in green that works for me that you're going to find, it doesn't work for me. You have to build your own toolkit. And your toolkit can be having it in a journal, and you have a journal that is a color coding journal. Go buy a Target spiral notebook and put little tabs in it, and then you go to the green, yellow, blue, red, and go to that. Or you can have a notes piece in your phone, whatever works for you. You're going to want to do that. And so you're good if you're in a green zone. Remember, this is the good zone. And maybe this is you're describing your green zone as no appointments, no meetings, you're feeling good, you got a good night's sleep. You're going to start describing your green zones. And in your green zone, don't think of these as um I'm off the hook days. Celebrate them and recognize them. But what can you do to make you feel good about a green zone day? Maybe this is the day where your creativity is really good, and go do a hobby. Go use this creative space for something. So I know some of you are running a business. Well, this might be a good time for you to go ahead and write that guideline, or write that book, or do a strategy session. Or maybe this is the time where you go ahead and have coffee with a friend and saying, yeah, my husband doesn't have appointments today. I have to stay home, but I'm going to go ahead and make coffee on the patio. Why don't you come on over? Or whatever, or come on over and let's go for a walk today. Celebrate those green zones and share it with your friends, saying, I don't get very many of these. Remember, green can help you heal from the prior stressors. Greens can help you understand how you got there and when you're in the bad states. And so it's going to provide you with clarity. Or better yet, maybe your green zone day, you spend an hour doing the difficult things that you can't do in a yellow or a red zone. Maybe it's those darn insurance calls, or getting your files organized, or calling the doctor, or doing something that you've been putting off forever. But since you're in a good mood, nothing's going to come of that today. I'm feeling rested, so I'm going to go ahead and tackle that cleaning job that I've been putting off and putting off, whatever it would be. Another thing is, maybe this is the day where you go ahead and saying, I know what help I need, and I'm going to start looking at hiring a cleaning lady. I don't know, maybe that's it. Okay, let's talk about blue zone. Blue zone is that depleted stage, that isolated stage, that sadness stage. I want you to journal this piece out. Why do you feel this way? And what are those feelings? Because when you come to those days, the next time you're going to be able to see if that's a pattern for you and document what happened the day before, the 2 days before. Did you get enough sleep? What did you eat the day before? What did you do that you feel so depleted and pressure? Is it a holiday? Is it your birthday or your anniversary? What is it? Look for patterns, look deep in you to find out why you're in this state and what happened. And it's not going to come overnight. So that's why journaling this out is going to be important. But here's the big thing: when you're in a blue zone, you want to you're in this calm down, really low state, and you want to bring yourself up. And the best way to bring yourself up is to do something. And I know what it feels like. You wake up and all you want to do is stay in bed. You wake up and all you want to do is turn on Netflix and, drown your sorrows, whatever it would be. But the only way you're going to get yourself and snap yourself out of it is really to force yourself to do something. And these are the things that you want to do. And you're going to have to test what it is. And you're going to have to push yourself to do these things. The things that I think of is think about going outside. Think about calling a friend and asking what they're doing. Think about turning on music. Think about your four senses. And is it four or is it five? Four senses. I think it's your four senses. So, because your senses can definitely help, because you think about it, lemon, citrus, orange, those citrus smells boost your mood, improve your energy. And if you maybe it's getting a spray or a candle and you light citrus or a lemon candle or orange or whatever. But if you're allergic to that, well, then maybe it's having a glass of water and putting in a lemon in your water and it'll boost that. Or thinking about music. Now, be cautious because you're in this really low state. You don't want to go ahead and play high energy music because that's going to shock your body. So you're going to want to, what could I do? Maybe it's jazz, or maybe it's something like that, and then bring your mood up. Maybe it's creating uh, uh, a list or a YouTube videos that boost your energy, and you create this little file of stories or reels or TikTok videos that make you laugh and make you giggle. Or maybe you're missing your loved one and they're there, but you're missing your loved one. You're missing the touch, you're missing the intimacy. So what could you do from a touch perspective? Maybe you schedule a massage. If you can't afford that, is there anything that you can do from a touch perspective to kind of boost your energy? And maybe it's just giving yourself a hug, maybe it's rubbing your shoulders, whatever. You got to get creative because that's where you're going to do this. Remember, this zone is all about engaging zone, giving yourself a pick me up, matching your energy level, and then eventually building your energy level up. This has been a game changer for me, a game changer. And I've thought of so many things that I can do slowly to boost my mood. For some people, it might be getting dressed up more than they did, putting on makeup, putting on earrings, putting on a dress up shirt because you're feeling down. You want to reverse that effect. Okay, I could get into this one forever, and I do in my course, but the yellow zone, if you remember the yellow zone, it's that frustration, panic, anxiety. You're feeling excessive about something, and you in this state you have to focus in on calming that anxiety, calming that panic, calming that, or ridding yourself of that excessive worry. Or maybe it's even a little bit of anger and you're just something happened and it's just eating away at you and eating away at you, and you're in this yellow stage. The example that I give is when my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, he had 2 months to 11 months to live. And the doctors gave him the option of just living your life, and we'll go ahead and start with you on palliative care, and we'll give you pain medications and you can live the life that you want, or we can try to get more months out of you and you can go on to chemotherapy. His first response to me was, no, no chemotherapy. I don't want to go through this. I want to just enjoy the little bit of time I have left. But then 2 days later, he changed his mind and he wanted chemotherapy. And I was so angry at that because I knew deep in my heart I would lose my dad to his emotions, through the chemotherapy, and actually he did, but I had to go ahead and honor his wishes, but I was so in this yellow zone. And so I couldn't go ahead and sit with him and going, I need to take a deep breath. I need to take a deep breath. I had to figure out a way to calm my anger down and not have it affect him. And so I had to figure that out. And I just said, I love you. I just need to take a minute and I'll be right back. And he knew I was upset, but I wasn't going to go. We were waiting in the waiting room at the doctor's office where he had his game plan in place, but now he changed it, which he had every right to do. But when you're in this calming state and trying to be in this calming state, I mean, you have to build a toolkit now that's going to work for you. And which means you're going to have to try new things, journal them out, and then maybe rate them or star them or cross the ones that don't work for you out. But a few things that I have written down in my journal is deep chest breathing. In some situations I can, in other situations I can't. Let's say I was doing this video and I was starting to have a panic attack. I couldn't go ahead and do this video and start breathing, but there's sometimes I can. Or could I journal it out so that if I'm excessively and obsessively worrying about something and I'm not being able to sleep, I'm going to have to do something to rid that worry. Maybe it's a power walk. And these work really good for me. If I do a power walk for 10 minutes, like I'm late, no technology, and I go outside and just walk and walk it off. And I used to run, and this used to help me get rid of I used to call them demons in my head, and it helped me get rid of it. Um, but, but, or another example here is, let's say that you are waiting in line at the pharmacist and you're 2 or 3 deep and your loved one's in the car. And now the people in front of you are starting to ask questions and it's taking longer and longer. And I can't wait for this medication or have it sent to me at a different time. I need to pick it up now because they need to take it within 2 hours after the doctor's appointment. Well, I have to find a way to release that stress or that anxiety or anger. It would be really rude of me to start doing breathing, going, because that stresses out everybody else. So what could I do? If I had a cart, I would hold that cart, squeeze, let go, squeeze, let go, almost like I'm doing Kegels. Or maybe I go ahead and find something that I can look at on my phone that's not going to cause me stress. It's going to distract me. I've used things like hold my hand on my heart if I'm in a private place and saying, you are safe. You are okay. There's no need to worry. That kind of thing. Prayer, whatever. Think about when you're in a waiting room and you're in the yellow zone in a waiting room because the doctor is 45 minutes late now. And for us, when we were in clinics, we had to go from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. And that just causes extra stress. We had to go from lab to the oncologist to having a procedure done, like Dennis had to have his port put in, and so we had 3 things. Now the doctor's late. Are we gonna be able to have that surgery? And so you're panicking. What can you do when you're in a panic state? Well, you can't pull out the candle out of your purse and light the candle, but is there anything? Do you have, maybe you like essential oils. Maybe you have an essential oil you put on. Maybe there is a video on your phone that's going to go ahead and distract you. Maybe you have a way that you cross your legs and you wiggle move your ankle around, and that releases stress. Maybe you have a blanket, because blanket provides security for you if you're afraid while your loved one's in surgery. Whatever it would be, you have to find different things. Okay, with the red zone now, definitely remember this one. You're out of control, you're heated, you're out of your elements. We are in overdrive in this one. The best example that I have is my son, James. We call him Jamie. When he was in grade school, he was the youngest one. I had my first 2 kids, and they were 4 years apart. And then between Matt, my middle one, and Jamie, there was an 8-year span. And so he was kind of like the only child, and those 2 watched him, but they picked on him a lot. They picked on him a lot and taught him how to get tough and all that kind of stuff. Well, when he went into grade school, anytime he didn't get his way, he would go ahead and resort to being aggressive, not to the point where he's dangerous, but he would punch the kid in line if the kid butt in line in front of him. He saw somebody steal a swing from somebody on the playground, so he took the kid and pushed him in the puddle. I had so many pink slips from Jamie being in the red zone that I thought I had this psychological bad child. And after a while, I said, well, we're going to have to take him to a therapist and have him assessed, and really have some counseling done for him. And I remember after the first visit with the counselor, he came out to me and he said, Kathy, he's just a good kid. He just doesn't know how to handle this red zone. And the doctor didn't say red zone. He said anger and that kind of thing. So, but I'm going to use red zone. He doesn't know how to handle his red zone. And so I told him, anytime he's frustrated and he is in the line at lunch and somebody cuts in front of him in line at lunch, he needs to have his hands in his pocket, because he can't punch somebody when his hands are in his pocket. And better yet, he said, he gave him like 2 little like squishy things that he could keep in his pocket. I think they were the tips of pencils, that like erasers, and he should squeeze those in his pocket as a release and let him go. And he gave him techniques like that so that he could go ahead and learn how to handle that anger that he had. For you, what is that when you're in that red zone that will work for you to calm your body down? Removing yourself for a moment and thinking about how to go ahead and say that to your loved one if you're just at your wit's end. Or is there a person that you could call and vent to that is your accountability partner? Can you go for a calming ride, or like a bike ride, or get in the car safely? Maybe it's dancing and turning on your favorite music just to take you away. Letting your emotions flow. And that's just what I've had to do sometimes too, is maybe I just need to get angry, a punching bag, throw something, do something to release that anger, cry, whatever you needed to do, scream into a pillow. Many times during hospice care did I do that. So whatever you need to do, remember you're not really in a logical state right now. What I wrote in my notes is, just remember our logic stops working in the red zone. And that's so true, because a baby is crying when they're in the red zone, and you can hear it when they're very upset. That's the red zone. And the mom is trying to figure out tools and things to do to calm that baby down. She's using all of her senses, rocking back and forth, patting the baby on her back, whatever, feeding the baby. So she's using as many senses as she can. What's really unique when you use this color coding system and you start figuring out what are some habits, techniques, and tools to use, you're going to go ahead and figure out this stress. And that's why when in my new course, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to dig deep and we're going to come up with this laundry list of habits that you can try. And then you're going to highlight your top 5. You're going to highlight the ones that really work for you, but through community and through all of the things that we do, we're going to be able to create that list and you're going to be able to recognize it. What's really cool is your nervous system responses. When your body responds 80% of the time to your nervous system and only 20% of your mind. What your mind is responding to is your action or your feeling or your anger. But when you're angry, what happens first? Your head's not telling you you're angry. You're getting your blood pressure up, your heart's racing. You can feel your body getting tense. You're getting heated. And then in your mind, you're thinking about how do you want to overcome that anger or how do you want to thrash out or whatever it would be. So that's why I have been finding this strategy to stress so impactful for me. When you can color code your day or throughout your day, and then you know how to handle it, that's a huge, huge win. Or you can start saying, this is where I'm going to go. This is what I'm going to do. You start building this personalized toolkit. And every single one of us is extremely different because our situations are unique. Our loved one situation is different. Our lifestyle is different. Some of us are working a job, caregiving, taking care of a family. We have multiple hats. So, and our personalities and our situations and what things we like and don't like do. I remember too getting into adult coloring when Dennis was in his stem cell transplant because there was some sort of focus that I could stay calm with that I wouldn't have did at home. But I did it there to try to do that. Pay attention to kids. When kids are in a urgent situation, when they're in a stressful situation, what do we try to do to them? We try to get them to calm down by, let me get you a coloring book and a color, or let me give you a stuffed animal. We try to go ahead and dig into those senses. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Caregiver Cup podcast, all about triaging your caregiver stress, building your own toolkit after you notice which emotional color coding stressor you're in. What I would love to hear is, how did this work for you? Have you tried to color code your stresses? And what tools are you building in your toolkit? Give me a comment and let me know. And I hope you continue to watch me on my channel here by following me and staying connected. We'll talk to you soon. And thank you again for watching. Bye for now.